You know, as much as I enjoy the Attack on Titan franchise, when Attack on Titan 2 was announced, I was pretty skeptical about it. The anime's second season was very short compared to its first, and I questioned just how long of a game they could really make around that second season. Once I started playing it, the game surprised me in a lot of ways. So let's get right to it. Here is my review of Attack on Titan 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Unlike what I thought, Attack on Titan 2 revolves around a nameless protagonist that is present and involved in all major events of the anime. Not just Season 2, but Season 1 as well. Consider this a reboot of this video game franchise that Omega Force is making, even though it's only the second game in said series. Now, what I like about this is that they threw in a customizable character into the plotline of Attack on Titan, and outside of the original epilogue, almost every single anime event in this game remains canon, despite the fact that the anime does not feature this nameless protagonist. Now, in terms of gameplay, Attack on Titan 2 is like Attack on Titan 1, an action game that is basically Spider-Man meets Musou. You're going to be grappling and flying around huge environments and fighting off tons and tons of boss-like titans as you go through each mission of the game. Now, before going on, what is different between Attack on Titan and Attack on Titan 2? What did Omega Force add that wasn't in the first game? And I put these additions down to three major factors. The first is the nameless protagonist, the ability to create a custom character and play as that custom character. The second is friendship events. Not only can you take Attack on Titan characters with you on missions, but you can spend time and have special events with them to dive into their backstory and gain skills for yourself in the process to help you with future battles. And the third, and probably the most important for series fans, is the ability to save your allies and keep them from dying. In the story of Attack on Titan, a lot of people die, and they are gone. Once you clear story mode of this game though, you can replay all of those story missions where your allies died, and there are new side missions where you can go and save them, allowing you to use them in further missions, as well as maxing out and seeing all those other friendship events. Now, as far as game modes go, when you first boot up the game, you only have story mode available to you. As you clear chapters of story mode, you unlock characters for another mode, which basically lets you do side missions, be it with your custom character or Attack on Titan characters, through local or online multiplayer. And once you beat the story, you unlock Inferno Mode, which is basically story mode, just with a harder difficulty. Now, the way game progression works is your basic missions and base of operations fare. You always have a little marker for the next story mission, but you can freely run around the various hub worlds and talk to NPCs, participate in friendship events, customize your character, upgrade your gear, or go on the side missions that are shared between story mode and another mode. But when you're out on missions, you really get that Attack on Titan feel as well as the Musou feel. That first time you jump in the air, hit the Y button, and start swinging around the air like Spider-Man, you can really appreciate how much work Omega Force put into replicating the physics of the anime series. Now, when you're on these missions, you have a lot of different kinds of objectives to make it feel like there's a lot of variety, but every single one of these objectives is going to boil down to one thing: taking on the boss-like enemies known as Titans. If you're escorting an NPC, Titans are going to show up and you're going to need to kill them to open up the path. If you're surveying an area, you're going to have to set up bases and take out the Titans in the area so they don't take down your bases. You're going to be doing this for every single objective in the game. And while this is a thrill at first, especially if you're a fan of the series, the original game and Omega Force in general is known for repetition. And there are two kinds of repetition in Attack on Titan 2. First of all, there aren't that many different models for the enemies, so you're going to see the same Titans in almost every single mission you go through outside of story-specific bosses. And once you go through a couple dozen missions fighting the same Titans over and over and over again, it's going to start feeling a little repetitive. The second thing is the fact that this story covers both seasons 1 and 2 of the Attack on Titan anime. While the story scenes show a clear perspective difference, Season 1 takes up 2/3 of this game, and almost every single Season 1 mission is a slightly altered version of a mission from the first Attack on Titan game. So if you played the first game, the first 10 hours of your playthrough is going to feel like playing the same game all over again, trying to get through stuff you've already done so you can get to the new stuff. And with that in mind, how long is this game? I just mentioned that it'll probably take you around 10 hours to get through the Season 1 content of the story mode. But what about the rest? When I completed story mode, including the Season 1 content, Season 2 content, and the special original story epilogue, I logged a little over 16 hours in the game. Now once you beat all of those story events, you unlock Inferno Mode, the ability to go back and save all your allies, and special boss encounters in all of those previous missions. So if you wanted to do a run of the story, go through the story aspect of rescuing all those allies, and doing a fair amount of the scouting missions here and there outside of just multiplayer, I would gauge the total completion time for this game to be about 18 to 20 hours. But what about presentation, which was the make or break aspect of the PlayStation Vita version of the first game? Graphically, the Switch version of Attack on Titan 2 looks really nice. The only time you ever see jagged edges around the character models is when you're in handheld mode, and even then they're few and far between. Performance, however, remains to be a hiccup in this series. The frame rate in the Vita version of Attack on Titan 1 was rough but playable. The Switch version of Attack on Titan 2 is very, very smooth for most of the game, but when you go into heavily populated areas, and every once in a while when you are speeding towards a grappled body part, the frames will slow down quite a bit. Now this doesn't happen very often, but it happens enough to notice. Now let's go into battery life. Being the 3D game that it is, I didn't expect Attack on Titan 2 to have very much battery life, and boy was I wrong. Here are my battery times from 100% to 0%. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 19 minutes. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 30 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 4 hours and 11 minutes. Lower brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 4 hours and 43 minutes. No way did I ever even think that Attack on Titan 2 would be able to extend the battery to almost 5 hours. The frame rate might not be perfect, but Omega Force definitely is getting the hang of battery optimization. Now in conclusion, Attack on Titan 2 is a Spider-Man meets Musou game that perfectly fits the Attack on Titan series. Now 2/3 of the game essentially being rehashed missions from the first game, on top of some other factors, is definitely a downer point, but it remains a fun action game for fans of the anime as well as newcomers. Reviews to Go rates Attack on Titan 2 for the Nintendo Switch a 7.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.